855-299-HOME. And as always, this segment is brought to you by Security National Mortgage, where we turn houses into homes by financing your American dream. Well, everybody, if you're listening, I know that you usually think that that's where Wyatt says your, but Wyatt is not here today. Wyatt has I don't know what he has. I mean, something about the doctor and penicillin shots. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. But so with that, we have decided to bring back a goodie, an oldie, is it an oldie but goodie?
Oldie but a goodie.
Yes, the prodigal son returns. Colton Manella.
Good to be back.
That is at the Twitter. That's the C-Man11. That's how they get you.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and so he's actually very good at this whole Twitter thing. He angers everybody with his opinions on sports, if you're wondering.
Yeah, because I'm a walking conundrum. Yeah, I'm a Texas A&M graduate who loves the Texas Longhorns.
Is it Huggy, or I don't know what it's called. Yeah,
it's not a thing.
Yeah, no, it's not at all. But so with that, this is the money segment, and being that he's a middle 20s, expanding off, growing into his own sort of life kind of guy, I think finances is important to discuss. And it's funny because inflation, like I was saying, inflation is on the way down. I mean, it's like 5%, lowest it's been in 3 years. What is even more resounding that it's on the way down is that the PPI, or the Producer Price Index, was in the 2s, right? So that means the people that make your stuff, their inflation rate's in the 2s. So that means in 60, 90 days when it gets to you, it won't be as expensive because they're spending less to create it.
Is that gas included?
That's gas excluded. No. Yeah. It excludes food and auto because they can't really, or food and oil, because they can't really make any changes that affect food and oil. So they exclude that and monitor what they can make changes to. Yeah. It does include, the service sector, which from all the numbers fears that it is kind of topped out and is on its way back down. So we're going to start to see the jobs numbers start to fall. And again, you need to understand the data, right? Just seeing it is not a deal. But when it starts to fall, it's really because the service industry is topped out.
Just read the headlines.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah. That's like 99% of America. So I was remembering the other day, you said, hey, China invaded Taiwan. And I was like, or Hong Kong. I was like, no, they didn't. And you said, somebody said so. I'm like, they read the headline. They didn't read the whole thing.
See, I was even worse. I just listened to the headline reader. I didn't even know.
So that's America, in case you're wondering. So you don't be like America. You be better. So what all of this means in a quick nutshell is that it appears that financially the American market is where it is kind of the new norm. The cost, the expense, the income, all it's kind of that new norm. We're going to start to shift back into that, 2% growth, all that sort of stuff. And that's very important to know, because if you are underwater at this point, then you're underwater. There's not a windfall coming. There's not a great reduction in cost. There's not a new increase in income coming, and things like that, because the job market is softening. So being able to bounce from job to job and all that sort of stuff is going away. So what does that mean? What do you got?
Yeah, I mean, it like the whole comment of if you're underwater already, you're not in a great spot. Yeah. But it comes down to savings, no? I mean, you have to plan for it. You have to have a breakdown of your budget. You have to, we've talked about this multiple times, and, he's my dad, so he's like, yeah, just write out your finances. We'll look at it. It's fine. Everything's good. But yeah, having a mortgage, getting groceries, living life still. I've read books, and you have to have the whole 50-30-20. You got to have, what is it, 20% of your savings? See, I'm doing well. I remember all this now.
Yes.
But no, it's about how you save.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's the most important thing about it.
And that's the thing, is that it's hard to understand, especially at your age. It's really hard to understand that, spending $200 today could be $4,000 in 5 years from now. If you look at it as return on investment, sort of thing. So,
as you do with everything.
Everything's, what is it gonna cost me 5 years from now to spend it today is one of the ways that I look at things. And that is really, because I mean, there's some stuff like lately. I'm like, oh my God, that's just amazing. I got to buy that. I'm like, no, it's too expensive.
Yeah.
But it's not today. But the loss of the return on investment is huge. Yeah. And so that number is what always scares me. And so I think that you need to think that. So, you know, the first thing you got to do, the 50, 30, 20 is the simplest way to get your life in order, right? 50% of your net income. That net is very important. Not your income, the net income. You know, 50% of your net income should be to live, right? Rent, groceries, car, you know, all of that sort of stuff, living expenses, things like that. 30% is discretionary. That's what I want to go enjoy myself on.
Yeah, you go see a movie, go watch sporting events.
Yeah, you play cornhole, you know, stuff like that. You know, golf, all of that. You know, but the other part that everybody messes up on is the 20%. The other 20%, that needs to go into a savings.
Which you would think, you hear the lower amount.
Yeah.
Like, that's the easiest part to do. Yeah. It's the hardest.
Yeah.
Because spending your money's pretty easy.
Yes. And that is why, if you've never read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, you need to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because the first thing Robert Kiyosaki says, or the first thing I took from the book, it's not the first thing he says in the book, is that you have to pay yourself first. You have to pay yourself first.
You'll figure the rest out.
You'll figure the rest out, because you know and so that's why it's like Colton. I'm like, you need to be putting more in your 401k, but I'm like,
hey, I maxed the thing out.
Yeah, you know, because now he can't. Once it's in there, he can't spend it. So at least his retirement is building, right? Once you get a little older, a little more, and a little bit more, you know, mature is not the correct word, but life experienced, you'll be able to start, you know, saving outside of forced savings, you know. And so what happens is, if you're in your early 20s and you start putting just a few $100s away, right? At 25, if you put $400 away, when you retire, you'll have over $1 million in the bank. Everybody's like, well, that's not a lot of money. I'm like, well, really? Because 90% of America has less than $100,000 in the bank at a retirement age.
Yeah. Struggle now. Yeah. Reap it later. You know, it's
that compound.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that's what we talk about with homes, the appreciation clock. You buy a house today because you're starting that appreciation clock today, as opposed to 2 years from now. You know, that's one of those things we talk about. The same thing with money. You put that money in the bank today so that you can start that compound interest clock now.
Well, you had me read a book recently. It's called The Compound Effect. And, you know, they gave you the scenario of, would you accept $10 million right now? Or would you take a penny and it doubles every day for a month or something along those lines? And you end up with well over $10 million by the time it all ends. So it's living outside of just the right now is an important mindset to have. You know, like the older I do get, the more I see that. Like, and I still struggle with it for sure, because there's things that pop up and you're like, oh, we got to go do that. We got to go see this concert. We got to go do this. We got to do that. But putting away that money right off the bat, you know, I have no choice. I mean, you do have choice, but it comes straight out of the paycheck and goes to the retirement. So it's the easiest way to save, in my opinion. You know, because you're not having to transfer funds to a savings account. You're not having to do anything else besides receive your check. You know?
Oh yeah, no, paying yourself first, putting in, that's great. Like I said, as you get a little bit older, you know, I think that once you get more established, you know, that 20 will become 10-10. Like 10% goes to a retirement, forced retirement, like a 401k, IRAs, all that sort of stuff. The other 10 goes to a savings, you know, to a stock investment, stuff like that, as you get a little bit more involved in those sort of things, and you break it up at that point. You know, that's as you get further down. But if you learn to live on the 50, 30, 20, you know, what you do is you break it all out. And if you're at like 60, you know, 60, 40, 10, you know, hey, we've got a place to start, right? So then we'll work that 60 down to 50, and then that 40 will work that down to 30, and then we'll move the 10 up, right? But you know, I can't stress this part enough. You have to sit down and do your budget. And do you know?
Because those numbers don't become real until you see them and write them down.
You know, because you know, I think because I'm like, you have more money than you think available, and you're like, no, I don't. I broke all the time. I'm like, well, let's write it all down, and you're like, wow. that's how much I spend every month.
Yeah.
You're like, and so it helps. It's good and bad. Some people, they put that down. I mean, I've counseled people where they put it down, and the number they spend per month is more than their income.
Yeah.
And so they're like, what do I do? I'm like, well, let's go ahead and get rid of the, I don't know, the lawn guy.
Yeah.
The pool guy. Yeah. Let's start with the simple things, you know. And so, but it's painful. And
because you get attached to these things, and they come with the payment, and they come with all that, but you get attached to it.
And most of it's status. Oh, I don't want to mow my own yard.
Well, I listened to he's the local Rogan, Joe Rogan, and he was saying, ego can be one of the biggest factors to your problems.
Oh yeah.
It kind of sitting back and thinking about, oh, if I just let this go, but if I do let this thing go, it means I'm no longer this. It's like, no, that's not the case. It's that you're being smart with your investments. Like, that's all it is. It's living a smart life.
Yeah.
Look at the guy. I mean,
yeah. Oh yeah. He has lived a smart life in a lot of areas, and that's a great podcast to listen to. He has some crazy people on there that give you straightforward information, and I like about that. But yeah, that's the thing, is that sometimes I think we get more caught up in what will people think and stuff like that, And I was listening to a show this morning. They were talking about, hey, this guy on their first date paid with a Groupon, and everybody's like, ew, and I'm like, hey, let her know right off the bat who you are. Don't try to impress her. Be you.
Yeah.
And if saving money is you, then you want to find somebody that appreciates the fact that you paid with a Groupon on the first date.
Yeah,
that's your girl. That's who you're looking for. You're not looking. Don't be somebody you're not. Don't worry about impressing people. Worry about yourself. If you improve your life, then every life around you improves. But it's like Michael Jackson said. Just start with the man in the mirror. That's where you start with the change. Hey everyone, you've been listening to the Home Team with Troy and Wyatt, but not really Wyatt. If you have any questions about anything you've heard today, please reach out to me at loansfromtroy.com or give me a call at 855-299-HOME. And as always, this segment is brought to you by Security National Mortgage, where we'll turn houses into homes by financing your American dream. We'll see you in just a minute.